All right, welcome to our Raw Inspiring, Reasonably Raw, and Beautifully Raw course. Okay, so this is how this works. The first 12 weeks we're going to be talking about the Reasonably Raw. Okay, so this correlates with the Reasonably Raw recipe book, which you have. Can you see this?
Yeah.
So each of you should have the Reasonably Raw recipe book. So we'll go through this. We'll talk about how to help your families and all sorts of things, answer all of your questions. I do have topics for each of the 6 weeks that we'll be meeting, but it's a 12-week duration because we're meeting every other week. So I'm basically covering 2 weeks in one, okay? So it might seem a little bit overwhelming at first, but as you go through each activity for the week, I think you'll be okay. If it does get a little too overwhelming, then please let me know and we can make some adjustments, okay? So did each of you get a chance to download your workbook?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So I just put mine in a little 3-ring binder. You've got the front page here, and then inside got all the pages, and we'll just keep adding to this as we go. All right, so the first part, the disclaimer. All of the information in this workbook is for educational purposes only. It's an accumulation of over 8 years of study, research, and application that I've done to overcome my personal health challenges. This information is not meant to diagnose, prescribe, treat, cure, or take the place of your medical professional. If you desire to change or get off of your current medication, you will need to discuss this and work with your doctor. Please do not share this workbook or videos to access that you have online programs or information that is paid for members only. It's copyrighted and for your personal use only. If you have family or friends that would like to take this course to learn, please contact me at rawchefwendy.com. Okay, any questions about that?
Nope.
All right. So today we're going to be talking about conquering your food demons in your life with nutrition. Okay. Let's just have a little chat here for a minute. What are 5 things that you would consider food demons that are showing up in your life right now? Maybe each of us could share something. Sandra, what is one of the food demons that you're dealing with right now?
Well, I still have some craving for sugars, but I not as bad as some people, I guess. But I have a hard time with eating a lot of grains. I'll tell you that much.
You said, what was the second thing you said?
I have a hard time eating a lot of greens.
Oh, eating a lot of greens, okay. All right, Julia, do you have 1 or 2 things that you would like to say that your food demons are?
Yeah, right now for me, I have kind of a fear of food because I think I told you this. I used to be an emotional eater, but when my daughter had some challenges with her food sensitivities, we changed our diet, and I started researching and kind of started freaking out about all the additives in today's food. And so, I don't know, I'm at a place right now where I'm almost scared to eat and certain things. And so it's been hard to go to like family reunions and things where I'm not preparing the food. So anyway, but yeah, I've been the whole spectrum. So that's where I'm at kind of right now.
Okay, so fear of food and emotional eater.
Yeah.
And then Jessica, what are some of your food demons that you're dealing with?
So I would say sugar, likewise, is one that I struggle with. And I feel like probably like the social aspect of eating, whether it's dining out or going to like family things and like feeling like there's nothing there that I can eat. And so, or feeling like I'm missing out because I'm not eating certain foods. And so I feel like I'm losing that social aspect of my life if I change my diet, you know?
I can totally relate. And we're going to talk a lot about these things too as we go along. So thank you very much for all of your participation. I appreciate it. All right, so our bodies are designed to move toward health and wellness and away from disease. And I can barely read my screen because I've got these things up here, but you hold the power to live an amazing active life, okay? And we talked in our cell well-being reports, when I went through that with each of you, we talked about how epigenetics plays a big role as far as the genes are only 2% of what's happening or what's manifesting in our body with our health. And so we have 98% power or control over what's going on with our health. So that should make us feel like we're empowered to do what we need to be able to overcome the health challenges. Okay. So how does that make each of you feel?
Well, it's good to know that we have options and we're not like destined to be miserable.
Absolutely. Is it different from what you've been taught?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. So do you guys remember my story? I'll just tell it real quick. In 2009, my body was breaking down. I was a pastry chef. These are some of the cakes I made. For over 30 years. I started when I was 12. And this was my passion. It was something that I really wanted to do. The plan in life was to become a pastry chef, which I did, and then open up my own bakery. And I did that at home for quite a while, but it never came to fruition. When I was 39 years old, my body was breaking down, and I was at that breaking point. I remember it was in 2009 in April. And I was on my couch just pleading to God to take my life because I could not handle living in my body anymore. There was so much pain and frustration, and I was a sugar addict. I had been dealing with thyroid problems. I had surgery on my thyroid. They took part of the lobe out. And I was on Levoxel, which is a synthetic thyroid, for the rest of my life. I ended up getting off of that with herbs and changing my diet, and I'm not on medications anymore, which is pretty awesome. But I was really going downhill, and a lot of people get to that point. I talked to this lady today that's only 29, and she is feeling like she's 50, and just not doing well. So we need to start taking care of ourselves, and I never knew any of the things that I'm going to be teaching you about. We don't learn this in the media. We don't learn it pretty much anywhere. I had to really go hunt and search for the answers, because the medical doctors and professionals weren't giving me what I needed. And I knew there was something wrong with my nutrition, but I didn't know what. And so as I started searching, I actually went to the doctor and asked, what can I do nutritionally? Because they kept trying to throw all these meds at me. And so I'd throw the prescriptions away, and I just prayed and just asked for help. And finally, I fired my doctor and went on my way, and I started researching and understanding more about raw food. So I want to know where you are right now. If each one of you will share a little bit so we can get to know you, that would be awesome. Who wants to go first?
I will, but maybe a little more specific. What do you mean by where I'm at? Like with diet, or like just life, or what?
Yeah, just maybe like with health especially, but maybe just stressors or things that you're trying to get rid of, things you're not really caring about, and things that you are.
Okay, so am I starting?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So I got pregnant 2 years ago, and my pregnancy was really, really rough, like on IVs, laying in bed, other people taking care of my kids for 9 months. And I had that baby, and I expected to just like come right back from it. And for that whole next year, this whole last year, I really just have never gotten better. I've experienced a lot of the chronic fatigue and the headaches, the bloating, a lot of digestive issues. I have like numbing in my arms and legs. I have this heavy feeling in my head where everything's just kind of fuzzy, and I feel like I'm distant from everyone. Very irritable. I get snappy with my kids, and just in life I get irritated easily. Definitely have some of that sugar, feeling drawn to sugar, and a lot of times I use that to cope. I'm feeling frustrated. If I go eat a cookie, then I'll feel a little bit better, and that's kind of how I make myself feel better. That's kind of some of the symptoms that I've been dealing with, and I've gone to doctors and looked into some different routes, and I've always kind of felt like nutrition played a part, and I've been on the search from one diet to the next, trying to find what that specific diet is for me that's going to make all the difference. I did start adding a lot of the raw foods back into my diet after listening to a thing of Wendy's, and within a couple of days I noticed that I was feeling better, where on some of these other diets it was taking weeks for me to notice any improvement. So that's kind of why I'm going this route. Frustrations in my life, I'm a mom, I've got 4 little kids, they're very busy, life is busy, and I feel like I've got a lot of things to do and accomplish in this life, and I feel like I'm really being held back from who I am supposed to be and how I'm supposed to mother my children and what I'm supposed to be doing, where I'm just dealing with myself and being sick all the time. So my intention is to learn for myself, learn for my family, so that we can all be in a better place and get to where I'm healthy and happy and have energy to be the mom that I'm supposed to be, and be able to be the person in this life that I'm here to be. So
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that, Jessica. Hey, Julia, would you like to be next?
Sure. I have a lot of similar issues, like Jessica said, with fatigue and brain fog, and I suffer from anxiety, and a lot of it recently is due to food, but I've always kind of suffered from anxiety, and I find myself, it's hard just to get through the day sometime. I also have the last few years suffered with endometriosis, and I've tried, all kinds of different things for that, and doctors want me to do a hysterectomy, but I'm not ready for that in my life yet, and I don't plan to have more kids, but I just don't want to give up that part of me yet, and so I'm struggling with that pain, and I've tried a lot of different diets. When I took a lot of things out of my daughter's diet, I kind of followed her, and I lost a lot of weight, and I felt good, but I've been diagnosed with some thyroid issues as well, and I don't feel, it's hard to cope some days, and the fatigue and the anxiety are my main concerns, and I'm just looking for something, and I know that nutrition is the answer because I've tried so many other things, so here I am.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. Sandra, how about you?
Okay, now I am getting some internet issues here. Every once in a while I get plunks like, the banjo playing. And one string at a time, if I don't know anything. So hopefully you hear what I have to say, which isn't a lot, but I just feel like I want to get to know the right foods that I can eat, that I can feel good all day, and not go through 3/4 of my day and just have a kind of a yucky stomach, bloating and gas, and sometimes I think, oh, well, maybe I'll take a swig of milk, which I know I shouldn't have, and might make me feel better. I'll take some aloe vera juice, or I'll go get some crackers or something. That doesn't really work. But so I'm just trying to find that's gonna make, other than that, I feel great. And I do have anxiety issues. I'm a very high stress and high strung person, and that probably affects my digestion to some degree. So anyway, that's kind of what I'm looking for.
Okay, thank you. Well, I hope that each one of you will be able to find what you need through this. So let's go ahead and get started here. So we talked a little bit, Jessica said you've been on diets before. Have each of you had diets? I mean, I think most of us have, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And what usually happens with those? Do they last very long?
No.
They don't. Jessica, you even had one that you worked with a nutritionist, right? Who is a sports nutritionist?
yeah, so he had us doing a lot of like the protein and the cheese. It was, I think his goal was more weight loss than maybe nutrition. Consider himself a nutritionist. So we kind of transferred over to that for about 5 years. We kind of made that our norm because we kind of felt like that was healthy. And so we were eating a lot of chicken, a lot of eggs, a lot of string cheese, cottage cheese, that kind of stuff. And we did lose weight, but I can't say that I necessarily felt great doing it.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Well, natural healing happens quickly with the right tools. And the right tools are the plants that our Heavenly Father has given us. And we get these through, there's a picture of the beautiful ocean, getting out in nature and getting sunshine and fresh air, going on vacation and getting rid of the stress. Those are all really important things. Nice pure water is good. having your raw nuts and seeds and legumes and things. Legumes you wouldn't do raw. You would cook those, but mostly raw nuts and seeds. And then your herbs are really important too, and those are very medicinal. And I will show you throughout this how you're going to be able to use those in your meals so that you can keep the meal as medicinal as possible. Then you have your exercise and, you know, eating healthy before and after. And then just having lots and lots of fresh fruits and vegetables as much as possible. And then your essential oils are also really good if you use those sparingly. I don't suggest ever ingesting those, and there's some safety issues and things, and we'll talk about those as well as herbs later on as well. Okay. There are 5 common food demons that we're dealing with, and some of these we already went over, but a big one is no time. A lot of people now are so stressed out. They've got huge schedules, you know, full, that they are just without time to be able to prepare good, healthy food. And so what do we usually do when we're dealing with the time? We usually go to restaurants and get something quick, right? And we have temptations that come along. These are often at, you know, parties, or if we have things in our house that are temptations to us. Sugar. Sometimes our husbands bring things home. Sometimes we do too. Children as well with their friends. So the temptations are laying around often. And then having to deal with cravings and addictions. And these can be very difficult to overcome. Like I said, I was a sugar addict for, I don't know, most of my life, really. And I've been able to overcome that addiction, and it has been phenomenal. And I have a very tender spot in my heart for addicts, because I have gone through this, and it's not fun. But if you are dealing with some addictions and cravings, we're going to be able to get rid of that as well. Unconscious eating and emotional eating, these two go together. A lot of times we sit in front of the television, or we read a book, or we're sitting there talking, we're having a conversation, and we don't really pay attention to what we're putting into our mouth. The emotional eating, when we get stressed or frustrated or sad or moody, we tend to go to food, right? So these are 5 common demons that we're dealing with in our lives, and we're going to go through each one of these and give you some suggestions of how to overcome them. So food demon number 1 is there's no time. So this lady's going to get her French fries and, you know, going out to eat. There's a lack of nourishment from our food. So junk food lacks nutrition. It has been killed by high heats and then fortified with rock minerals like iron shavings. So if you go on YouTube, you can actually search up fortified cereal experiment. And in this, you will find that what they do is they take some cereal, like one of these that are pictured here, that are fortified with iron. They'll take it and put it in a blender and add some water, and then just blend it all up until it's liquid. And then you put it into a Ziploc bag, and you can get a magnet, and you can just go around on the Ziploc bag, and all these iron shavings will come to the magnet. That is how they fortify. Isn't that crazy? Where do you think those shavings are going, the iron shavings?
I don't know, but that doesn't sound good.
It doesn't, does it? Well, this can cause problems. It can puncture different organs, and then it can accumulate in those organs as well and cause stones and other issues. So I would stay away from the fortified cereals. They're not good at all for you. Okay. Acrylamide then is another one. Bread, barbecue meat, chips, and other foods that are browned, toasted, or grilled at high temperatures produce a chemical called acrylamide. And this is a carcinogen. It's a cancer-causing agent. So you're eating cancer every time you're eating this cooked food. No wonder a lot of us have issues with cancer. You know, that's one of the highest, biggest diseases that we're dealing with in our culture right now. And it's because mostly of the cooked food. It also has to do with a lot of other environmental factors as well. Cosmetic chemicals that are in our food. So this is a Big Mac. Sodium stearoylactate. I can't even, lactylate. Can't say these very well. And if you can't say an ingredient, you shouldn't be eating it. This is found in shampoo and soap. The reason they use it is a dough conditioner. Even though bread does not require it, it's been made with this for thousands of years. Calcium disodium EDTA is found in skin products and hair conditioner used as a stabilizer. The reason for using this is to flavor, or it's a flavor protectant in fast food sauces, dips, and dressings. Side effects can be passing out, vomiting, dizziness, and numbness. Ammonium glycyrrhizin is found in facial mask products. The reason for using it in food is to flavor. It's a flavor enhancer and flavoring agent. And I think that meant surfactant is what I was supposed to say. So side effects are hypertension and heart failure. Disodium phosphate is found in mascara and mouthwash, and they use it as a preservative for food. Propylene glycol is found in shampoo, mouthwash, hand sanitizers, and it gives most of today's foods and beverages their distinctive taste. The liquid alcohol, this is liquid alcohol that's used in antifreeze. And then benzoyl peroxide, recently banned in China. It's an active ingredient in acne creams, and it bleaches wheat flour white. That's all fast food breads. So looking at some, these are just some of the chemicals that are in our fast foods. Do you want to go out and get a hamburger right now?
Nope.
Not so much, huh? None of this is labeled really on the labels either, which is sad. Fast food is fast, but at what cost? It's giving us more cancer, diabetes, obesity, heart disease, sickness, allergies, and many other illnesses and chronic diseases. It literally is killing us. So the toxic habit number 2 then is unconscious eating. These are not in the same order that I said before, but that's okay. So we don't pay attention to what we're eating. We eat and entertain ourselves to feel numb. We lose touch with the signals our bodies give us, which are pain, discomfort, bloating, brain fog. All these things are signals that our body tells us something is wrong. But we're medicating those symptoms with pain medications, as well as food. So we're trying to numb those things out, which isn't good. We need to learn to listen to our bodies. We sit too long and become sedentary, lazy, and overweight. We eat addictive foods that don't satisfy, but we're still hungry. We aren't aware of the amount of food that we're eating, and we stay up too late, shortening the amount of sleep that our bodies need for repair and healing, throwing off our natural sleep patterns so that we medicate again through sleeping pills and melatonin. So, can anyone relate with this?
Yeah.
I can relate to the stay up too late
Okay.
a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. Toxic habit number 3 is emotional eating. Now, I put this picture up here because I think a lot of children, especially with food allergies now, are dealing with this as well at a younger age than what we were dealing with. But imagine going to a party and they have pizza and one of the kids has allergies to dairy or to gluten, and they're having to, be left out. And that causes all kinds of emotional problems as well. Excuses that we tell ourselves and others: everyone's eating it, so I should have some too, right? What they are eating looks delicious. I feel left out or deprived. And Jessica, you just talked about that, right?
Yeah.
I'll just have one and then I'll stop. I used to do this all the time, and I can't. You can't stop after a while. Did you know that the scientists actually, I have a book that I can't remember the name of it, but it talks about how scientists engineer food so that we will crave it and become addicted to it. So once you just have one, the chemicals and things start kicking in, and it's really hard to stop because of how it's designed. So it's, this is one that's really hard. And then I'll start tomorrow. This happens a lot with diets. I've been so good, I deserve a reward. And we usually reward ourselves with food. I've been feeling great, it won't hurt me. I don't care, I want it now. I felt all of those things at one time or another. Okay, toxic habit number 4, cravings and temptations. These we have to deal with a lot, right? Did you know that because we're receiving little to no nutritional value from cooked and processed foods, that our bodies crave more of it to try and get what it needs, never to be satisfied? We're always hungry. Now, this is something that I had to deal with a lot, and I'm sure each of you have had this at some point in your life, but I remember just always being hungry even after a meal. About a half hour after a meal, I'd be starving, and it's because my body did not get the nutrition that it needed from the food. And so it was asking me to put in more nutrition. But this is how a lot of us become overweight, or for me, I didn't have a weight issue as much, but I was really tired all the time. And we'll talk about that too. We are what we absorb from our food. If our food lacks vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, live enzymes, and other essential nutrients, our body craves more, hoping to get the nourishment that it's looking for. So the lack of nutrition also equals cravings. Okay. Toxic habit number 5, these are addictions. So did you know that grains actually have an opioid effect? There's a big thing right now about people who are addicted to opioid drugs. Well, we have a lot of this from eating our grains. It's because they're not prepared properly. They need to be sprouted first, and then you can make breads and things out of the sprouted grains, and then they become alive and have a lot of enzymes there. But when we just do it without sprouting it, it has the, I believe it's aspartic acid that's the storage packet. And that's explained more in your, I think it's in the Reasonably Raw book, right? It's in one of these. I think it's actually the Beautifully Raw. I have a page in there that talks about sprouting. So sprouting the nuts and seeds or the grains are really important because that activates the nutrients in there, over hundreds of different nutrients, over 400 in some of the grains. Sugar is like heroin. You can be addicted to sugar like you are heroin. So anything that's white and processed is not good for you. And then, of course, the high fructose corn syrup. This actually has the capability, and so does MSG, of turning the little, whatever it's called, it's turning off the center that says that you are full, okay, in your brain. So they put the high fructose corn syrup in ketchup and a lot of different products so that you will feel like you're not full yet and you'll keep eating. And that way they can sell the products to you. So tell me what your thoughts are about the first 5 things here. Anyone have any comments?
Well, I'll just make the one comment. So I don't necessarily do a lot of like fast food, but this week as I've been trying to like do some of these new recipes and stuff, like I've had a couple of days where I've kind of had a little meltdown, feeling the overwhelm of like, okay, now I've got to not only go to, okay, so I used to do like Costco and like Walmart, like every like 10 days to like 2 weeks, you know, like I'm a busy mom, like I can't go to the store with 4 kids all the time. And now I'm feeling like, okay, like I've got to have all of these fresh foods on hand all the time, and we're eating through them so fast within 4 days, you know, and it's like, okay, well, I've got to go to the specialty, like to the nutritional store and to Costco and to Walmart and to the farmer's market, you know, so between the shopping and then looking at these recipes and cooking the food, you know, I'm like, I used to throw like some chicken nuggets in the microwave and I was done in like 10 minutes, you know, and now I'm like, oh, the time to cook this. So I've definitely felt a lot of overwhelmed with the time thing and like, how am I going to make this work? The shopping for it and the cooking has definitely felt overwhelming to me a couple of times.
Okay.
I agree with Jessica. I'm overwhelmed by that too, the time factor.
Yeah. Well, a lot of us, you know, I don't know. I grew up with my mom making everything from scratch. So that's just kind of how I grew up. And I think there have been a couple of generations now that don't know how to even cook. And so getting back into the kitchen is kind of a big deal because we are so used to just throwing things in the microwave. And the microwave also has radiation that is harmful to us as well. There are people, you know, we've done the cell well-being reports, and they have quite a bit of radiation that can be coming through from the phones, but it can also be from microwaves and other things like that. So we do need to be careful about how we're living. you know, and is it important enough for you to have the health and to teach your family to do these things as well? Spend a little bit more time preparing. And you can do things ahead, you know, and we'll talk about that as well. But I think what I'm hoping anyway through showing all of this information to you is that it opens your eyes a little bit about what you're doing so that you can have that education under your belt and then say, okay, this is really important that I get rid of a lot of these aspects of the food. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
All right. A lot of people are soda drinkers, and I wanted to talk to you a minute about what happens in your body when you drink a soda. Within the first 10 minutes, there are 10 teaspoons of sugar that hit your system. This is 100% of your recommended daily intake, and the only reason you don't vomit as a result of the overwhelming sweetness is because phosphoric acid cuts the flavor. Scientists designed it this way. Within 20 minutes, your blood sugar spikes and your liver responds to the resulting insulin burst by turning massive amounts of sugar into fat. Within 40 minutes, caffeine absorption is complete. Your pupils dilate, your blood pressure rises, and your liver dumps more sugar into your bloodstream. Around 45 minutes, your body increases dopamine production, which stimulates the pleasure centers of your brain, and it's physically identical response to that of heroin. After 60 minutes, you'll start to have a sugar crash and want more. This comes from Dr. Mercola at Mercola.com. Do you have any idea that this was happening inside your body when you were drinking soda? Kind of eye-opening, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is actually in your book, I believe. Yes, it's on page 3. Okay, so it says what happens when you drink a soda. It's all right there. Okay. Americans on average spend the annual $800 million on Girl Scout cookies. Isn't that ridiculous? $65 billion on soft drinks, $117 billion on fast food, $478 billion on Twinkies. They're cheaper at the store than produce, and they're more expensive in the long run because of the medical bills. So no wonder we're so sick. That's crazy. Here are the dangers of high fructose corn syrup. There's a high risk of weight gain and obesity, increased risk of developing type 2 diabetes, hypertension and elevated bad cholesterol levels, causes severe liver damage, and a risk of mercury exposure because of the way that it's processed. And then food addiction. Fatty, sugary foods can be as addictive as heroin, but how do you know if you're addicted? If you have any of these or all of them, then you'll know that you're addicted to food, which most of us are. It's not a bad thing. We just need to learn to overcome it, okay? I should say it is not that great of a thing, but you're not bad if you have an addiction. So number 1, you often eat alone. And I want you to maybe put a Y or an N next to these. This is on page 4 in your workbook. So if this applies to you, maybe on the left side of each number, you can put a Y for yes and an N for no if it applies to you or not. Number 1, you often eat alone. Number 2, you make excuses or lie about the food you buy because you're embarrassed that you're eating it. Number 3, you have a food of choice that almost always leads to a binge, like a trigger. Number 4, you have an eating habit that almost always leads to a binge, like a nighttime eating. 5, you often feel out of control when you're eating. 6, you are ashamed before, during, and or after you're eating. 7, you go on and off diets often. 8, you eat in order to not feel certain emotions. And 9, you eat when you're bored. So does anyone have any of these?
Yeah.
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 Okay. So that helps you to see where you're at. Who has more than 3? Okay, Jessica does. Julia, you have 4?
Yeah, I have 4.
Okay, any more than 4?
I have 6.
You have 6, wow. Sandra, how about you? How many do you have?
I have 2.5, but then I'm a lot older than those two, and I've been into this. I've been trying to control this for a long time.
Good for you. That's awesome. All right. Well, I've had probably every single one of those. So I had 9. So I beat you all. But I've overcome them too. So that's pretty awesome. All right, here we go. We're going to stop all of these habits, okay? Are you ready for that?
Yeah.
Woo! I'm excited. So there are mixed messages everywhere, right? We talked a lot about the diets that are around us. There's bad diets going on all the time. Right now it's the keto diet and the paleo. What are some other ones that you know of?
Those seem to be the 2 big ones right now that I'm hearing about.
Yeah.
Keto and paleo? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So what I want you to do is, actually, let's see, we're going to do this for our homework. So just so you know, on page 9 is your activity for week 1. This is you're going to track your food and drinks for every meal and snack for a week. Okay. So for this one, let's see. I think in some of these it will ask about what you're eating. So we'll get to that here in a little bit. This is the raw food pyramid that I started off with, okay? So once I found raw food, I was trying to eat as many leafy greens as possible, and that was supposed to be the foundation other than living water, okay? Fruits and vegetables, tons of those. Sprouts and legumes, which took a long time to do. Lots of nuts and seeds, flax seeds, hemp seeds. These are the proteins, amino acids, and to eat moderately, and we wanted to eat generously these. Then you've got your herbs, microgreens, seaweed, wheatgrass, and then cold-pressed nutritional yeast, the oils, and all of those things. And this is the medicinal foods to eat sparingly. Okay, so this lasted for me about 6 months, and then I started getting my symptoms back. It didn't work. Do you know why? It's not balanced. So the typical raw food diet is between 45 to 60+% fat from nuts, seeds, oils, and avocados. And all that fat slows things down in the bloodstream. More greens and vegetables than fruit, so that wasn't working. And I was out of balance. It didn't work for long periods of time. It tries to mimic the standard American diet. So if you go to different places, there's some raw food restaurants around. A lot of times they have dishes that are like the foods that we're used to, the pizzas and tacos and those types of things. And they usually use like a bread or a shell that is made out of nuts and seeds. And the more you eat of that, the more out of balance over time that you get. So that's how I started. I loved the cuisine because I was a chef by trade. I went to culinary school and learned all the French way of cooking, where there's lots of rich sauces and sugar and all those types of things. And that was making me very sick. And then I switched over to this raw food diet, and I was still trying to do the same thing, but with raw food, and it wasn't working either. This is one of the reasons why a lot of people start and stop the raw food diet over time, because it doesn't work for them. Okay? So as I started doing this, or realizing that I was reverting back to the way that I had been, I started asking more questions. And I came upon a book called The 80-10-10 Diet. No, it's not in here. Anyway, it's by Dr. Douglas N. Graham, and I highly recommend that book. And we're going to talk a bit more about that. But in this book, he talked about this chart, okay, that we're going to go over. So the carnivores, they eat mostly meat, okay? They have 4 paws with claws. They walk on all 4s. They have a large opening for the mouth. They have really sharp fangs. Do you see how these go out quite a bit? And then you can kind of look down here, blade-shaped molars, short and pointed incisors, lower jaw embedded inside of the top. They don't have lateral and forward mobility, so they just shred their food. So they shear and swallow without chewing. Small salivary glands, active saliva without petalin, acid urine, renal secretion of uricase. They have strong hydrochloric acid in the stomach. They do not require fiber to stimulate peristalsis, which is the digestive process. They metabolize large amounts of cholesterol and vitamin A. Their sweat glands are in their paws. They gasp to cool the blood. Their intestines are from 1.5 to 3 times their body length, and the colon is short, smooth, and alkaline. They do not metabolize cellulose, which comes from plants, and their complete digestion is 2 to 4 hours. Now, cellulose is mostly in like the celery and things like that, okay? Okay, so are we carnivores?
No.
No. But we sure do eat a lot of meat, don't we? Especially when we want to get our protein, right? Do you know what percentage, I've told some of you, what percentage of the actual protein do we get from meat? About 30%, Jessica. That's right. We talked about that the other day, right? Good job. So 30% is from the meat. Where's the other 70%? We just we can't get it out of the meat. So where do they get their protein from? What do they eat?
Grass.
They're eating the meat. But then you also have, like, we don't eat the cats. These are the fast cats. They run 50 to 60 miles per hour or more. So we don't generally eat those. So we don't eat carnivores. Omnivores then are meat. They eat meat and vegetables. These are the bears and dogs. We don't eat those either. Okay. So these are very similar if you go down the whole thing, very, very similar. Their intestines are 3 times their body length, so it's a little bit longer than the carnivore. And their digestion is about 6 to 10 hours, so a little bit longer. Okay. Can you see the mouth, how different it is? It's not, their fangs aren't as long. And they eat mostly berries and vegetables, meat, things like that. Herbivores are the ones that we eat, right? So those are the cows, anything with a hoof. They walk on all 4 paws. They have a smaller mouth opening. Rudimentary blunt canines. Aren't these huge teeth? They're very different, and they move from side to side because they're eating and chewing on the grasses and the herbs. But they have several stomachs to digest. They have a weak hydrochloric acid, so they take a long time to digest their food. It's anywhere from 24 to 48 hours. Then you have frugivores, which are the monkeys and chimpanzees. Okay, so let me go back to this. When I talked about, these are the ones we eat, the cows usually for our protein. They eat the grasses, and that's where they get their protein. So we need to go toward the primary source instead of the secondary source for our protein. And the primary source are the plants, okay? So for us, the frugivores, we are frugivores. Our mouths are very similar to the monkey or chimpanzee. We actually share 99.4% of our DNA with a chimpanzee. So we're very, very close. They eat about 80% fruit, 10% vegetables, greens, and 10% nuts and seeds. They do eat some bark from the trees, and some insects get in with that as well. So there's that. But also during winter or famine, they will kill small animals on occasion, but it's not very often. So in the LDS way of thinking or religion, we talk about the word of wisdom. And this actually goes very much along with the word of wisdom, where you eat meat sparingly, which means hardly at all. And then it talks a lot about the herbs of the field and about the fruits from the trees. And then we also eat it says to eat fruit as our meat, herbs as our meat. So something to study if you would like to learn more about that. We do have opposable thumbs. We're the only mammals that have these, other than the frugivores are the ones that have these. So we can take our thumbs and pick fruit off of the tree and then we can peel it, right? They can't do that with, the herbivores can't do that with their hooves, and the paws from the other two, they can't do that either. So we were meant to eat fruit, okay? So I'd like a little bit of feedback of how you feel about this. Is it kind of eye-opening?
I feel like this is all very interesting. I feel like it makes a lot of sense. I feel like I've spent a lot of my life hearing so many different things when it comes to diet that it's hard to just jump right in and be like, yes, this is it for me. But logically, I feel like there are a lot of things that make sense about it. And so, yeah.
Excellent. Sandra, how do you feel about it?
I feel really good about it, and the thing that I probably am, I just can't. I mean, I was kind of reading through this thing today, and what you do daily, and I go, that's a lot of fruit.
It is.
I'm going to handle all that fruit.
The
But
great
it
thing is,
feels good to me. I'm not a meat eater. I've never been a big meat eater, but at times I put meat into my diet because I feel like I needed it because, you know, everybody else eats it, and then, you know,
right.
now eating hamburgers and hot dogs and stuff. So anyway, yeah, I feel good about it. I want to give it a chance and try it. I feel like it goes along with the word of wisdom, and that's why I feel good about it.
Absolutely. Me too. Julia, what are your thoughts on this?
I think it makes sense. I'm a little overwhelmed because I have a husband who loves to grill his steaks and barbecue, and we've had these conversations when we've been reading about the Word of Wisdom, and so I think it makes sense, but I feel like it will be a little bit tricky. I think I do better if I don't eat meat as much, but it's probably in our meals most every night, so it's going to be different for me to go without, or to, I probably obviously won't be forcing my family to do all this with me at first, but I want to make those changes so that they can incorporate a better diet as well.
Absolutely. Well, good. And all of those things are very important and good concerns. They're things that I had as well. And when I found out this information, I just went nuts. I wanted to tell everybody about it. And when I received energy in 2 days from eating this way, and then all my symptoms were gone within a week, it was profound. It was life-changing, and I wanted to tell everybody about it. The problem was they weren't feeling sick like I was, and so they felt like, well, what they were eating was fine. And so I learned that I just needed to work on myself. We're going to go over self-care next week, but it's really important that we just work on ourselves and not try to evangelize to everybody else, because they're not going to be ready for it necessarily. And it took my family probably 6 years or so to get on board with this. My 2-year-old actually was very easy, and he's one of my healthiest eaters, because we sat together and ate salads and, you know, laughed and fed each other and had a great time over our meals. And he learned how to put food into the juicer and into the smoothie, to make smoothies and stuff in the blender. So he learned all these basic skills, and I taught him along the way as I learned. And my daughters, who are now teenagers, they definitely feel a difference when they're eating a lot more raw food than when they're not. And my family doesn't get sick much anymore, you know. And my son, who's 10 now, he was 2 then. If he gets sick, he'll go back in his mind and think, okay, what was I eating? And he says, I think I'm feeling sick because I ate this, you know. He's making that connection, which I think is really important. So the education for yourself and then helping educate your family is really important. But don't try and give it all to them all at once. And this is what I'm doing with you. I'm not going to shove, you know, spoon feed everything right now all at once. And you're not expected to go 100% raw all at once either. We're going to work up to that and to the percentage that feels right for you. Any questions at this point?
Nope.
Okay.
Just anxious to learn more.
All right. So the 80-10-10 diet looks like this, and this is perfect for the tropics, but we don't live in the tropics, right? So we do have to make some adjustments. But eating as close to 80% fruit as possible will give us a ton of energy. And fruit is really good for every part of the body. It feeds the brain, so it's really important that children get a lot of fruit. They crave fruit probably more than we do. They're the ones that are the candy eaters. They want fruit. That's what their body is telling them. But I can't tell you how many moms I talk to and they say, oh, I thought I had to limit the fruit, that they couldn't eat very much. And I said, no, let's get a nice big area in your kitchen and in your book. You'll see mine. This is my counter. And I've got tons of bowls that always they're full of fruit. And that's nature's candy. Okay. This is on page 18 of Reasonably Raw.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
So I've done this with my family, and my kids are big fruit eaters. They love it, and
Good.
Now I have limited them. So I've taken this on, and we bought our fruit, and we've had it in the kitchen, and I've just been letting them eat on it, and they've been happy as they could be.
Yay!
I've noticed we have had some like diarrhea, a lot of loose stool. I feel like everybody's just pooping. So is that like the new norm, or is that like a cleansing and that's gonna, where I feel like my baby's like bum rash because he's got you know what I mean? So I'm like, oh, maybe it's a little too much. I don't know. Do you have any thoughts there?
That's a good question. Yes, it is very cleansing, and that's why we go slow. You're not going to just do 100% right now of raw food. So let's up the amount of the fruit, but you need to let their little systems kind of figure this out, because you're going from processed foods in the microwave all the way over to eating the fruit. And I did that, and I filled the toilet like crazy. I know it's gross, but we do talk about poop in this course because it tells us a lot about what's going on inside the body.
So if that's happening, do we need to ease back? Do we just work through that?
Yeah, have them eat some more vegetables. That'll help kind of settle things down. Make sure that they're getting their 10% fat, which is about their size of their hand, okay? And if you want to, like at dinners, just go ahead and make the same dinner that you're used to. And, I think that should work okay. That'll help them feel like they're still kind of normal, but they're able to have a little bit more of the fruit. I do have a really good green smoothie skin salve that is excellent for diaper rash. So if you need that, let me know. Yes, it's awesome. And I use it for my face as a moisturizer. I've had people use it for third-degree burns, and it's helpful. And it's got comfrey in it, so it's fabulous. I was going to tell you, Julia, privately, but I'll just say this here. I think with the endometriosis, the comfrey tea would be fantastic for you. Comfrey is very healing. It's a cell proliferate, so it knows how to heal the body, the cells very quickly. And like I had a client who, her son spilled some hot soup on his lap and he got third-degree burns. And so she put that green smoothie skin salve on there really quickly. And within 3 days, she went to go get a doctor's note to get him back into school. And the doctor said, how long has this been? She said, it's been only 3 days. And she said, this is a month's worth of healing. What did you do? Wow. So it's incredible what it will do. Now, I'll tell you, the FDA has said that we are not supposed to be eating comfrey. The reason is because they gave like 500% more comfrey to a rat or to mice to try and prove that this herb was harmful to the liver. Well, try and eat that much or drink that much, and there's no way that we could ever do that. So they were trying to, say that it was bad for us. So you'll see studies out there that say that comfrey should not be consumed, but that is the reason why they like to try and prove these herbs wrong. So you can do the comfrey, it won't hurt you. It has kind of a gelatinous texture, like gelatin, but the comfrey tea is very, very healing inside and outside of the body. If you don't want to drink the tea, you can put a little bit in your smoothie or something like that. You can even encapsulate some powder if you want to, or you can use it outside the body. So our skin is the largest organ of the body, and anything that you put on the outside will go right into the skin. I worked with a pregnant lady who could not keep anything down, and she was on these heavy medications that they give the cancer patients who can't keep things down. So what we did is we worked from the outside of the body in, and I had her make a big tea bath. So we did raspberry leaf, we did alfalfa leaf, we did a variety of other herbs, and she just made a tea out of her bath. And that soaked right into the skin, and I told her to stay there as long as possible. And so she was getting nourishment through the herbs, and she was getting hydrated from the water. She was in, they were threatening that they would have to put an IV in her, and they ended up not having to do that. So and then finally we were able to get some green smoothies into her, and she got back to normal. But it's really amazing what these herbs can do, So if you're going through any issues like that, then talk to me and I can help you out with that.
Thank you.
Okay, what about protein? Protein, calcium, vitamins, minerals, omega-3s, they're all in our fruits and vegetables. So bananas, for example, have 10.3% or 23% of our daily intake of protein. Carbohydrates, 60% at 2.15 or 215.6 grams. The fat, the healthy fat is 3.1 grams, which is 16% of our daily intake. Fiber is at 98%. The omega-3s, you've got 23% in there. Vitamin C, 110%, and calcium, 5%. So all these fruits and vegetables, mangoes have quite a bit of the omega-3s at 93%. You don't have to have fish for your omegas. You can get that in your nuts and seeds and in all of your fruits and vegetables. And it's a myth that you can't get protein in these plants. They're all designed to give us all the nutrients that we need. Any comments or questions so far? Okay, is this all new information?
Yep.
Incredible, huh?
Yeah.
All right, so now this is me in my garden. My husband's a big gardener. But I've lost 5 pounds in the first week. I had more energy and I wanted to exercise, which was huge for me because I hated exercise. The knee and hip pain while running went away completely. I can run again. I am turning 48 this year, and I feel like I'm 20 years younger. I mean, younger than when I first started this. It's incredible. Huffing and puffing up hills is gone. I have a quicker recovery time from exercising. I build muscle faster. I have a clear mind. My thinking's improved. I used to stutter. I don't do that anymore. The mucus and phlegm is gone. My meals are much simpler to make. There's a lot less time in the kitchen. I sleep less. Scoliosis since my childhood. My spine has gone straight. I used to have quite a curve in there, and it's straight now. Sugar cravings are completely gone. The candida was horrible, and it's gone. Chronic fatigue since 11 years old, that's gone. Chronic neck and back pain is gone. Hypoglycemia is gone, and I have stronger nails and thicker hair. So those are just a few things that have benefited me since I've gone raw. 6 steps to conquer these food demons. Okay, you don't have to do all of these at once. They are in your book. So we're now on page 7 and 8, okay? Number 1, eat a healthy breakfast every morning. A green smoothie is ideal. Drink the whole blender full. And my favorite recipe is in my 1-day raw challenge, which I sent to each of you. So hopefully you got that. And I'd like you to get started on that this week. A large bowl of fruit or handful of bananas or other fruit is ideal for breakfast and snacks. Stop eating the cereal, eggs, bacon, etc. for breakfast. These make you tired and sluggish. Fruit gives you energy and helps sustain you throughout the day. I also love eating carrots and other vegetables and sometimes soak nuts like almonds, walnuts, or pecans, and I mix it up. So very, very fast and easy breakfast. You don't have to sit there and make a huge meal. Just grab some fruit, cut it up, and make a nice big bowl. We will be talking about combining food combining in another lesson. But for right now, I just want you to focus on this. You can make some oatmeal if you want to. I have a really good oatmeal recipe. I believe it's in the Reasonably Raw as well. So I'm just going to give you a few ideas of what else you can do for breakfast. On page 27 of your Reasonably Raw book, there's baked apple and cranberry oatmeal that you can make. There's a muesli. So in here, there's some breakfast that you can do. If you want to, if you're choosing to still have a little bit of the animal products, you can do a crustless quiche or the huevos rancheros on page 29. But just do that maybe one time a week is what I would suggest. I also have breakfast eggs and vegetable mixture with breakfast burritos. So just look through here, and there's a variety of great recipes for breakfast. But make sure that you're getting fruit. Eat that first because it digests the fastest. If it gets backed up by eating a lot of the other things like the eggs and hash browns and all these things first, then you'll start getting gas and it ferments in the system, okay? So you want to eat your fruit first, and then whatever else you're eating, go ahead and eat that after. Number 2, snacks on the go. Take a salad, a bag of fruits or vegetables, green smoothie, bag of dried sprouted nuts, or trail mix with you. I live out in Eagle Mountain, and we didn't have a store until last year out here. I live about 25 to 30 minutes away. When we first moved out here 17 years ago, it took me 40 minutes to get into Orem, and that's where I was going to get my food. So we had to do a lot of things where I would take bags of food because it would be an all-day excursion going out to shop, and I do it once a week. So when you're on the go, just make sure that you've got plenty of things for you and your children to be able to snack on that are healthy, so that you're not going to the fast food restaurants to go and get something quick and easy. Just prepare a little bit ahead. Make dinner the night before. If you put a meal in the crock pot and make a salad or a vegetable tray the night before, then you've got a great meal that you can go to quickly. Have a super supper Saturday. Decide what meals you want for the week and make them all. Refrigerator freeze them on Saturday, and then add fresh fruits and vegetables when you serve them. Make sure that you're not using the microwave. I want you to use you can use, what are those called? Like the toaster ovens. I used to have one of those. You can use those to heat things up, or go ahead and put it in your oven, or crock pot is fine too, okay? Be conscious when you eat. Stop and think about what you're ordering in a restaurant. Make healthier choices. Opt in for vegetarian or vegan meals most of the time. Reduce the amount of animal products that you consume. Eat fruit at the beginning of the meal. It digests the fastest and gives you the sugar that you need so you don't crave sweets at the end of the meal. Eat your meal at the table without the TV or other distractions. On or outside is even better. Eating with loved ones as positive conversation is the healthiest. Tune into your 5 senses and have a sensual experience when you eat. Okay, let's talk a little bit about the sensual experience. One of the things that I want you to do, and I forgot to put this in here, but this week I would really like for you to do this little experiment with your family. Talk to them about using their 5 senses. And as we become conscious, we want to use our taste, our sight, smell, touch, and what's the last one I forgot? Our hearing, okay? So you can hear the crunch of a vegetable, right? You can see the beautiful colors that are in your fruits and vegetables. And you want to make sure that those are intact when you're doing any kind of steaming the vegetables. Just steam it at low, and then with a little bit of water, it still needs to have a bright color and the crunch in it so that those enzymes are intact, okay? That's really important. Then make your food look nice, a nice vegetable tray that's arranged, or fruit tray or something. The colors, you've already benefited from the bright, beautiful colors, and that draws your family's attention to them. So when I'm making meals, and we'll go into this more, but I make my meals around the fruits and vegetables. It's not around that meat anymore. And when they see that, when they come to the table, they just start eating. They love it. And then they don't need so much of the other stuff, okay? So we went through sight. Smell is one. And your smell and your taste are connected. So you're going to notice as you start cleaning your palate by eating fruits and vegetables, it's going to cleanse your body. The greens, the chlorophyll in the greens have a lot of cleansing properties. And so your palate will be cleansed and you will be able to start tasting food like you've never known before. Jessica, even in just this short time, are you noticing that your food's tasting a little differently?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I definitely notice more flavor, and I actually feel like I can enjoy foods. I'm eating a lot of celery and bell peppers. I never ate stuff like that before. Although I don't love the celery, I can actually eat it, and I used to not be able to choke it down. So
good. That's awesome. And it happens very quickly. Your body responds fast because this is food that it was designed to eat. And so it's like, yes, this is what I've wanted this whole time. I'm so grateful that you're giving that to me. And it will respond with energy and with feeling better and getting rid of the symptoms. It just cleans you out, and it's fabulous. All right, so the assignment is to blindfold each of your family members. And I want you to blindfold them and then give them a few different kinds of food and see if they can describe it. You want to use words to be able to describe things so that they can get more in tune with how they're feeling, with how things taste, how they smell, and just talk about the food that you're eating and get them excited to start eating this raw food, okay? And you can do it for yourself too and have them help you. And then maybe do some cooked food versus raw food and figure out if you like one or the other better. You can also journal this. I think it would be good for you to journal and say what happens with your experience. Okay? So will you all do that this week?
Yeah.
Okay. Wonderful. Number 4, only eat whole foods. So the whole foods are really important. We want to avoid the oils because they're 100% fat. The same thing happens with your herbs and medication. What happens is they go into the rainforest and they find these amazing plants that do all these incredible things. They're looking for one specific property out of that plant that they can extract and then create a pharmaceutical because they want to patent it and charge us a whole lot of money. Okay? But if we had the entire plant, it has hundreds of constituents that work together so that your body will be able to handle it instead of possibly, some of the side effects, have you seen the list of side effects on these drugs? Even death is possible. So when you extract something out of the whole food, you're only getting the benefit of that one part of it, where you could be getting fiber and nutrients and antioxidants and all these different constituents that are in the whole plant. So we're going to stop using oils. Instead, eat the whole coconut instead of the coconut oil. Eat the whole olive instead of the olive oil. Eat the whole avocado instead of the avocado oil, or the nut instead of whatever nut oil it is. Avoid your processed and packaged foods. These are highly processed at very high heats, and they're dead food, basically. Foods that are cooked to death at high heats, you want to start cooking your food at lower heats. Foods with processed sugars, those are just like heroin. And your salt, you don't need to salt everything. A lot of these vegetables have plenty of salt in them. You can, if you choose to have a little bit of salt, and if your cell well-being report said you needed sodium in there, then just do a little bit of sea salt, and that should be good. Okay, so we're going to substitute these foods with the whole foods like we talked about, eating the whole foods instead of the oils, fresh fruits and vegetables in their natural state as much as possible. Raw fruits, vegetables, sprouted nuts, and seeds contain life-giving enzymes, which is where we get our energy. They're our fuel for our body, okay? Dates, figs, raw honey, organic maple syrup, etc., instead of sugar are fine. And then stop salting your food. Plants have natural salts that are not from rocks.
What about raisins? Is raisins okay?
Raisins are great, yep. Any kind of dried fruit is fine. Just understand that it's a concentrated sugar. So
Right.
Your body may react if you have candida. It's not a good idea to do the dried fruits right now. You just want to have the whole fruit. The benefit of the whole fruit in its raw state is that you get all of the water in there too. When you dehydrate that out, then you have to add more water for your body to rehydrate it. So try and do the fresh fruits and vegetables as much as possible. Then number 5 is get out of the kitchen and do something that you love. We spend way too much time in the kitchen. And I'm finding that I don't really like being a chef anymore because I don't enjoy being in the kitchen. I want to be with my family. I want to go and exercise and go on walks and enjoy the sunrise and the sunset. I'll go on walks several times a day. And I started running again. That's something that I enjoy doing. Find a new hobby or passion besides food. Get moving and exercise, sit in the sun, and breathe fresh air deeply. I have this amazing book. It's called Minerals for the Genetic Code. It's awesome. But I was just reading this today that I wanted to share with you. There's a mineral called scandium. It's possibly the rarest mineral on planet Earth. It's available as a subatomic particle while obtaining sunlight. Its role in space projects and weaponry is well known, or projects and weaponry is well known. So it's used to make metal weapons and things like that. But let's see, it says the person must have boron in the body in order to process scandium. We bask in the form of electromagnetic radiation. Scandium always reveals itself in vitamin D metabolism or something that deals with calcium. If we walk in sunshine, we pick up all the scandium needed. Wherever the peer-reviewed literature has articles about calcium metabolism and related genes, scandium is always the top of the terms of need for genetic sequencing. It has a lot to do with the vitamin D metabolism and calcium metabolism. Scandium iodide added to mercury vapor lamps produces a high-efficient light source resembling sunlight. It's one of the rarest minerals on Earth and in terms of its quality, and it surrounds you every time the sun comes out. So this is I didn't know this, but scandium is something that we all need, and it actually helps with turning vitamin D2 into D3. Okay, and we get it from the sunlight. It also is closely tied to the metabolism of calcium. So we need to get out in the sun. It's important for us to do that. I just came across that today and wanted to share that with you. Okay, let's see. Live your life to the fullest every day and take care of yourself and enjoy it. Write in a gratitude journal. That was something that really helped me to focus on things that I was grateful for instead of all the things I didn't like. And our mindset is really important here. Learn to love everyone around you, especially yourself, and spend quality and quantity time with your loved ones. Make them a priority. This is my cute little family from 5 years ago or so. It's a little older picture. Number 6, be conscious of how you think and talk. The natural law of attraction, we attract into our lives what we think about the most. Our thoughts become our actions, which become our reality. So ask yourself the following questions. What are the dominant thoughts that I think on a daily basis? Are these thoughts generally positive or negative? Do they serve me or tear me down or others? Do they move me closer to my goals and dreams? What would I rather be thinking about? If I could think about 3 things every day that would build me and others up around me to move toward my goals, what would they be? So these are on page 8 at the bottom. Now if you'll go through, this is what we're going to have you do. Let's go over your assignments for the next 2 weeks. So page 8, go ahead and answer those questions we just went over. Page 9 is your week 1 activity. So track your food and drinks for every meal and snack for 1 week. And then at the bottom it says track any other food and beverages, including water, consumed here. And when did you stop eating for the day? Write the time down on that. And on page 10, try the 1-day raw challenge and watch the videos. And I have videos that go with those. I'm kind of converting my website over right now, so you won't have access. Well, you actually will through the online program. You should be able to see those. And then be ready to report on next week's call. Keep a journal of your experiences throughout the next 6 weeks. This is important to see where you've been and the progress that you've made over this time. You may want to record the following: how you feel like, or what you feel like before starting, how you feel each day, rate from 1 to 10, 1 being the worst possible and 10 being the best possible. What is happening to your body? what is going on with your mind, changes you may be noticing with your spirituality, impressions that you get. And I said, please act on these. It's important to do that. How you're relating to others, your relationships, strangers, coworkers, etc. Detoxing and cleansing symptoms, if any, and we will go over these next week. Write down any questions that you have throughout the week and ask on our next call. And you can email me ahead of time if you want to. If you're not going to be on the next call, then we'll go over that as well. There is a typical day that I have written out here that you can look at. Okay, so this is for this week, and then next week will be your snapshot activity. So this is a look at where you are right now, and I just want you to go through each of these pages and answer each of these questions. And what the purpose of this is so that you have a record of how you're feeling right now, because you are about to go through quite a transformation. And you're going to forget a lot about your symptoms and a lot of the other things that you've been dealing with over time. And I'm excited for you. Our bodies will respond this way because they were created to be like this. And this is why this way of eating is so successful. It's not a diet, it's a lifestyle. And I've been doing this for the last 8 years, and every once in a while, I'll eat a little piece of pizza or whatever, and I start feeling yucky again. And so I've increased the my comfort zone, and we're going to talk about that next week as well. But I've gone up in the level of my ability to eat more raw food, and my body is responding. Yours will respond very quickly as well. So I don't want you to get overwhelmed with all of these things. Just do week 1 and answer those questions, and then start in with your raw food challenge, and then go through next week and do your snapshot activity. And then on page 17, it says if you could do just one thing, then make a blender full of green smoothie and drink that every day. You can work up to that. Now, Jessica, you were talking about how you're having kind of a hard time with the quantities and things, and that's okay. Your stomach needs to get used to eating this way. It also needs to clean things out so that you can prepare it to eat like this. So you're cleaning out a lot of the junk from the past years. A lot of that accumulates in the colon. If you do need some help with that, then let me know, and I've got some herbs that can help you get the colon cleansed a lot easier. But if you could just do one thing, then do that green smoothie this week, okay? And then you have a tracker on the bottom of page 17. Just mark off each day that you have your green smoothie. And I have a tip on here. If it's cold outside, allow your smoothie to come to room temperature before you drink it, okay? And it's important for us to do that. It's not very good for the liver to eat cold or drink cold foods or eat cold things like ice cream, because it kind of hardens the fats and messes with the liver. So as much at room temperature as possible would be great. Okay, are there any questions?
No, not right now, not for me.
Okay.
You want us to do the 1-day challenge, and
Yeah.
other than that, and the smoothies,
Mm-hmm.
and then just the best we can the rest of the time?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and I want you to pay attention to how you're feeling, and if what cravings are coming up, what emotions are coming up for you. This is an important time for you to start really becoming conscious and to start feeling what's going on in your body. And then what are the instant reactions that you're trying to do? What do you want to do when you feel sad? What foods do you go to? And write it all down. I want to talk about this next week or the week after next, because we're doing this every other week. But let's really get conscious about what we're doing. And then we're going to start learning how to shift mindset and get into healthier ways of living. Okay? This isn't just about food. This is a lifestyle, like I said, but it's about getting down deep into what's going on emotionally. Because the food is just a symptom of a greater problem. So as we become conscious of what we're doing with food, then it's going to start uncovering some things that may not be very comfortable. And that's okay. And we're going to work through that together. Okay? Okay, there's a checklist on page 18 as well. So you can just check off as you go through and make sure that you get everything done. And then I wanted to ask you about the time that we're meeting next time. and I'll get your calendars out. So to give you enough time to do this, I'd like to skip next week and the following week because that's fall break. We're actually going to have 3 weeks here to work on this. If there's a problem, if you're having issues, text me real quick. My number is 801-367-1622. It's 801-367-1622. And you can text me and let me know what's going on. If we need to do a quick call, we can go ahead and do that. But I want to make sure that you get your needs taken care of. So on the 26th is what I'm thinking for our next call. Will that work for each of you at 7 o'clock?
At the same time, 7 o'clock?
Yes.
It'll work for me.
Okay. Jessica, will that work for you? Okay, how about Julia?
Yeah, that'll be fine.
Perfect. Okay, so this will give you plenty of time to start implementing this way of living, okay? And if you start feeling like you want to have more raw food, that's fine too. Just listen to your body and try and understand what it's saying. And then this is a really good time for you to journal all of these things so that you know you can go back and take a look at where you've come from and kind of work through a lot of these emotions and things, okay? All right. Well, thank you very much. This has been a very good call. I hope that you've learned a lot. And this is recorded, so if you need to, you can go back over it again. Okay.
So
Any
if you
final
want us to
questions?
listen to it again, is it on Zoom or how do we do that?
I will actually email the link to you.
Okay,
So,
cool.
yep. And I'm planning on putting this up on a website so that you can access it. Okay.
Awesome. Sounds great. Thank you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Any other questions or comments?
Nope.
Okay. Good luck,
Laura.
everyone. It's going to be great. We're excited for you.
Right. Thank you.